we mentioned at the top, it's Senior Bowl season, baby. And Senior Bowl invites are, I think Jim Nagy said they're fixing to start going out in the next 7 to 10 days. So this is why we pick this time every year, Shane, to make our predictions. And we've done pretty well. First year, I think we hovered around the 50% mark. Last year, we got close to 60, if not over 60% of the guys that we predicted to make the roster made the roster at some point in time. Maybe not that initial wave, but they got on there at some point. But that's still pretty good, right? 60% for guys who we have no idea who's on their board and whatnot. We just take an educated guesses, and this is what we come up with. Last year, I took you out of your comfort zone, Shane, gave you defense. I took offense. I let you come back to the offensive side of the ball this year, and you put those out today. Everybody go to draftcountdown.com, check out Shane's Senior Bowl offensive roster predictions. And it has a chance to be a pretty stud group this year with all the guys that came back to school. But also we when we do these guesses, we have no idea who's going to go back to school. We really don't even know if these guys are eligible to be in this game. We're just going, they're 4 years out of school. They should be eligible. And maybe they're not. I think there was a couple instances last year where they weren't, and we didn't know it. So we're not privy to that information. That's why they're predictions, not facts. But I was looking at your list, and I'm like, I think I could nitpick a little bit here with Shane's guys, and maybe I can offer up one guy that maybe should get in. At the quarterback position, there wasn't a whole lot here to argue with. And you had Daniels, Hartman, Nix, Penix, Rattler, Travis. I think if one I'd pull out was Sam Hartman. If I was taking one out, I said DJ Uiagalelei. You said you don't think he may even declare. So it could go either way, but that was the one that I had there. Like I said, it's nitpicking.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. I think Hartman's the last one on my list. We talked before, Dylan Gabriel, I think, is probably my next up. That was like, he could be on there.
The running back group that you have is loaded, man. I mean, it is loaded. I like that you got Jace McClellan in because that feels like a Senior Bowl pickup. It just does. They're going to be short on Alabama players this year because there's not a lot of them eligible for the game. They're going to take what they can get for the box office value, if you will.
Yes.
If I had to put one guy in there that I thought maybe gets a nod, but I think he's probably not, and that's Frank Gore Jr. from Southern Miss. I don't think he gets into the game, but he was the one guy that I could have snuck in.
Who would you take out? That was the tough part for me.
It's very tough. And if I had to take out one, it would be McClellan. But I just think, like I said, box office draw. I don't think I'm pulling him out.
Right.
So,
yeah, because I like Gore. I think the small school guys, Isaiah Davis and Dylan Lobb from New Hampshire too, but just couldn't fit them in.
Yeah. You had two fullbacks on here. Jim Nagy tweeted out the other day, there will be no true fullbacks at the Senior Bowl game this year because they're just not good enough. You went with two. Jaheim Bell, Florida State, I think is a lock at that H-back, fullback, tight end position. And these are essentially extra tight ends in the game,
right?
If you don't know. You had Brant Kuthi from Utah as the other. He's probably going to be out. So I like Marshall Martin, a guy you listed as could have been, I think, to get their small school quota up a little bit. Maybe you go with an athlete like him in that spot. Had a chance.
I wouldn't be so certain that Brant Kuthi's out. There's some rumors that he's just not playing and could play right now. So shutting it down for the draft. So we'll see.
Those guys don't tend to play in the All-Star games, though.
They don't, but I think he's going to need the rehab of these draft stock, right?
Sure. I mean, and if that's the case, the Senior Bowl will definitely take him. I think they'll be ecstatic to have him there. If that is,
I like Marshall Martin too. I think it's a good pick.
You had 16 wide receivers total. Again, very hard to argue with anybody of those 16 you had on your list. I talked about him earlier, and we're talking about box office guys. I think if you could take one out, I don't know who that one would be. I think Colin Lacey from South Alabama gets in. Jalen, similar to how Jalen Wayne last year was on the Senior Bowl roster. I think there could be a spot for Lacey. Aeneas Smith, Texas A&M's another that I would have that I liked at that position as well.
Yeah, and Luke McCaffrey we talked about, I think could be intriguing. A receiver's always tough because I always feel like there's a couple guys that come out of nowhere and then like, oh yeah, they're pretty good. We didn't really watch them, but it feels like a decent receiver group. So we'll see what happens with that list. But not all the initial invites are gonna. I think Lacey gets on because someone says no.
Yeah,
and we might not even know it.
Yeah. You went with 7 tight ends, including an injury for Eric All. This was another one that maybe Tyler Warren is who I would take out, or Brevin Span Ford. I think Trey Knox is getting here. I mean, I'm not saying that as, I swear to God, I'm not saying that as a South Carolina homer. Sure? I think Trey Knox is an NFL, he's going to be an NFL 2 tight end.
Hey, look, it's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think Brevin Span Ford could not be left out because he hasn't done anything this year. So, if Trey Knox is next up, which makes sense. I think Jalen Conyers from Arizona State was probably my next up. But
he could be in that fullback spot too, by the way. Jalen Conyers. I thought
that's true too.
Well.
That's a good call.
Yeah. 25 offensive linemen on your list, including one injury, and I think he'll definitely be down here for interviews and stuff. And that's Kyron Megaji from Yale. I can't pull anybody off this list. This is a good list. I put maybe Javon Foster just because I've seen Nagy talk about him a lot over the past 2 years. That was the only, but I'm not taking anybody off this list. Maybe some more Michigan guys.
I know. How many Michigan guys can I put on the list?
Jim Nagy is a Michigan alum, for God's sake, Shane. Right. You got to take that into account.
That's fair. We can't have 7 of them on here.
You sure about that?
One guy that I didn't put on the list is a 4th-year player, Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. Wasn't on the watch list, but to me would have been on the watch list if he was eligible. So I left him off, but that's a name that, like, if he can be on, he'll be on.
You had 2 kickers. I'm not arguing with that. I don't think you wanted to put Will Reichert on, but you know those rules. Same thing for Oscar Chapman. There was no other Auburn players you had here. Gotta get one. He gets in at punter. Torrey Taylor from Iowa, I think, is the number 1, right?
Yeah, to me he is, but specialist. I'm not the best at, so we'll see.
Yeah, 2 long snappers here. Nobody cares. All right.
I care. I care. We've had long snappers drafted.
They should.